All right. Somebody out here already. We got Selma. What's going on, man? You guys ready for them Lions? You know they're gonna try to stick it up in that hole like they did against Baltimore the other night. You know they don't have much respect, seem like, for those AFC North opponents. So it's gonna be a tough test. Even though I don't think Detroit's gonna be able to run the ball on you guys like they did against Baltimore, but it's still gonna be a tall test for you. You got to play 4 downs on defense. It's one of the rare teams that will go for it a lot of times, which I thought they should have been doing that years ago. When you play the same way everybody else plays, you're going to get the same results. If you want to change anything, you got to go out on the limb. And if that includes going for a lot of 4th downs, then so be it. Now, at the same time, all those 4th downs you go for, it backfires. And I think despite that, he overlooks that and he goes anyway. So keep an eye on the Lions and those percentages on 4th downs because they play a huge role in the game. All right, that Browns defense is ready. Well, they better be ready, Selmo. You guys need all the practice you can get because my Steelers, we're going to stick it up in that A-gap, man. And you're going to kick out Myles Garrett and run right up in there, man. JC, what's going on? All right, just talk about the coaches. Right now, you got a couple guys on the hot seat. Brian Daboll was in the hot seat last year, and how he survived coming into this year, I have no idea. But his problem is he has to make the right move on the quarterback. During the preseason, his top draft choice, Jackson Dart, played pretty well. But you know that the preseason is far different from the regular season. But it was enough of a performance to create some noise in the Giants locker room to have the players believing that this guy may be the answer for the future. But you have the veterans, Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson in there to lead the way until this guy was supposed to be ready. Well, they named Dart number 2 instead of Winston. So he's farther along than they thought he would be, especially after that debacle that he had with John Gruden, where he couldn't get the snap count right, and Gruden was about to pull his hair out because it didn't seem like this guy was ready to play pro football. But despite all of that, he got the 2 spot, which means that he's only one player away from being ready to go in there. Winston is in the 3rd spot. So now that they started Wilson, he's floundered. They have to make a move because this team is 0-3. Daboll is in danger of losing his job. And if he didn't make this move now and he went to 0-4, then he might not have lasted 2 or 3 more games. So the thing now is Dart, he's going to go into the fire immediately. They got the Chargers this week, and the Chargers like to play a lot of games on defense. And they're going to get after Dart, and they're going to confuse him and make him look silly. Now, if he's able to go out there and carve up the Chargers, then the Giants know they have something. And that would make Daboll look all right for making his move, but it's also going to make him look suspect because he probably should have saw all of this beforehand. But the other thing that Daboll must do, he cannot have Dart go in there and get hurt because if he is clearly the future, then the last thing you want to see is this guy get hurt. Now, I don't think Harbaugh per se would try to hurt the guy, but they're going to go after him. They're going to run kind of defensive schemes to try to confuse him. They're going to pick him off a couple times. Maybe they can kill his desire to play. That's the desire of any defense anyway. I want to crush you when you come across the middle. But, of course, you can't hit anybody like you used to. So we won't even talk about that anymore. All right, JC says he should go with Dart next game. He can always go back to Wilson. No, he can't go back to Wilson because the word is that the players don't have any confidence in Wilson. And that's one of the reasons why he had to make this change. These guys aren't giving it their all. They also weren't using Scatterboo that much. And if you watched the game the other night, Scatterboo was the guy that was making things go. So if you're going to bring in this young guy, he's going to spread the ball around, get the ball out of his hand. You're going to give the ball to Scatterboo. The only other thing you need to do is get Malik Neighbors in the game. He didn't do a whole lot the other day. He didn't even have any opportunity to get going. So by bringing in fresh blood, young blood, doesn't doesn't have any old ways. The other team doesn't have any real feel to go against him to try to game plan, and it gives the Giants a real shot. Now, if you come in with Jameis Winston, we know what he's going to do. He's going to throw it around, but he's also going to throw you a couple. And the ones he throws you is probably going to be the difference in winning and losing. So it's a good move to go with Dart, and I think that he should play well against the Chargers. He's going to have some rookie mistakes, but if he plays just good enough, then the Giants, which I thought has been improved thus far, they're going to make a little noise, or at least ruin somebody else's season, have the opportunity to do so. All right, Selmo, say what do you think about Indiana? You're talking about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has some bright spots with the Giants. Why they gave up on him, I don't know. But it's just like with the Knicks. The fans got on Jones, and he didn't feel like he was progressing enough. But at the same time, he wasn't playing so bad that it was what they were thinking. So they just gave up on the guy and then sent him over to Minnesota. They had a locker room was jammed over there, so they had to get rid of some people. So they cut him loose. He goes to the Colts, and I think they cut a backroom deal telling him that he was going to be the starting quarterback all along. And just Anthony Richardson surprised, which it shouldn't have been because he hadn't played very well since he's been there. And I think that Jones he wasn't a bad quarterback to begin with. And after being in the league a couple of years and learning things and picking up as you go, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But he also has a friendly running game. That guy is running that ball right now. And as long as he continues to do that, it's going to open up lanes for, just like I told you guys yesterday, the best friend to a quarterback is a running game, especially if you're in the play action. We're talking about the Ravens. Lamar Jackson has gotten better at throwing the football. But if Lamar Jackson didn't have a running game like he didn't have in the fourth quarter, and they have to depend on him dropping back and throwing the ball, completely different quarterback. So it makes a difference when you got a running game. And as long as Jones is able to run, they can run the football, Jones is going to be effective. Now, are the Colts really undefeated team? No, I don't think so. It's just a matter of time before they start to shift the other way. But I'm happy for Jones because I don't like to see players giving up on, and that's pretty much what they did in New York. And that's another strike against Dayball. And you got rid of this guy and go somewhere else and look at the way he's playing, but you can't put a quarterback together on your own team. Don't make him look good. All right, that's one position. The other position, Raheem Morris. As you know, Raheem Morris used to be the coach. He was a young gun head coach several years back for the Bucks. That didn't last very long. Now he's in Atlanta. They had a tough year last year. Now you bench Kirk Cousins and you bring in Michael Penix, the future, kind of like what Dayball is going through in New York. And he's up and down, which a rookie is going to be. But the Falcons team all around, they're up and down. First week they struggled. Then they come on Sunday Night Football and run the football. They look pretty good doing it. So you think this is going to be their MO? They're going to be the same team you saw just a few days ago? No, they look like somebody else. Not only did they look like somebody else, they became the first team to get shut out this year. And it wasn't by the Green Bay Packers or some team that's undefeated. They got beat by a team that hadn't won a game. And that don't make Morris look too good. And if he don't hurry up and turn around, he might be out of Atlanta by the end of the year. And, some teams, they have quick hooks. Blank, he will fire you. And if the people stop coming to the game, even though he's got cheap concession stands and all that, he will get rid of a head coach. So Morris, you got to keep an eye on him. He won't last too long. All right, King Henry's going to have another fumble against those Cowboys. No, I thought that the Ravens are playing the Chiefs this week. I think that Henry, he's going to be fine. He's just trying to deal with the fact of why he's fumbled 3 straight games where he ain't had any fumbles in the last couple of years that equal that. So he's dealing with some adversity he's probably never dealt with. But I'm seeing the look on his face and the way he's carrying on the sideline. That was concerning to me as a professional. When you face a setback, you got to bounce back from that quick. You don't have time to dwell on that. But what most people missed, after that fumble, I don't think he played again the rest of the game. primarily because of his reaction. His mind wasn't there. So that's the first time I've ever seen him get benched. So he's got to bounce back mentally, or the Ravens, they're going to be in trouble. They're already in trouble because of that jackleg defense they got. And I told you before how to beat them. You got to stop that run up the middle and keep Jackson from running to the outside. You know, that sequence they had on the goal line right before halftime? Henry up the middle. Henry up the middle. Line stuffed him 3 straight times. So what do they do on 4th down? They go for it. It's predictable. I told you, when they can't run Henry up the middle, they're going to pull it and run Jackson around the outside. Sure enough, on 3rd down or 4th down, that's what they did. They ran Henry to the left out of shotgun. Jackson pulls it, runs to the right. He's got a run pass option. He couldn't run. He had nobody to throw it to, and ended up bumbling the ball and it went back 18 yards. That's how you beat the Ravens. You have to stop that run. If you can't stop the run, then Jackson gets going, and the play action opens up passing lanes, and it's going to make him look like he's this great passer when he's not. Now, one thing they did say on Monday Night Football that I wasn't aware of, they said he is the all-time leading passer rating in NFL. I don't know how they come up with these numbers, but I can't believe that. So there's a lot of, he used to throw a lot of those short passes, hit tight end a lot. So that's boosts your efficiency rating. But as far as passing touchdowns, he doesn't have anywhere near a pure pocket passer would throw. So I don't know how they come up with these percentages. But if he's truly the all-time percentage leader in passing, then I have to tip my cap to him. But I don't see it. Some of those guys that are in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to give them the football and say, drive me down this field. I'm going to give it to Elway. I'm going to give it to Marino. I'm going to give it to Staubach. These guys can take me down the field. They've done it several times to win games. In the playoffs, I hadn't seen Jackson do that. He did take him down the field against Buffalo, and they scored, but Andrews dropped a 2-point conversion. That's the first time that I've seen him do that. So if you're telling me this guy's an all-time percentage passer rating, what is the formula for that? Because like I said, if he's only done it one time in the playoffs compared to these guys who've done it a whole lot of times, how is his percentage rating higher than those? I don't get it. So you tell me about that. All right. So that's Morris. I think Morris is going to be okay. Now, I also mentioned yesterday Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. Been there 20-something years. Like I'm telling you guys, I've been watching these sports for over 40-something years now. And I remember when Gundy was the quarterback for Oklahoma State in the mid-'80s. He played with Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders. I think he was the one giving it to Barry when he won his Heisman Trophy. So Gundy's been around. He's been at Oklahoma State as alumni, and he was a coach. Had a great little run there. But while I think it was time for him to move on, I don't think they should have fired him. I think what they should have done, instead of giving him a new contract last year, they should have just moved on then. But no, they stuck with a $15 million buyout, which is cheap compared to some of the other buyouts they have out there. But Gundy's got nothing to be ashamed about. He's going to walk away with a pile of cash, and he did well for the university. But it's now time to bring somebody else in and get into a new direction. And I don't think it's necessarily because of his coaching. I think you get stale after a certain period of time after you've been somewhere for so long that you might want to move on. Now, if you have extreme rates of success like what Saban was doing, then you go when you get ready to go. And when you do go, don't have any regrets about when you actually do leave. And I think Saban got a little bit of that regret. But I don't know how long Saban thought he was going to coach. Maybe he wants to be a coach at 85. I don't know how long Pete Carroll is going to coach at 74. But it's just like with Deion Sanders. You start to get health problems at certain ages, and I'm not going to be on the sideline. You're not going to pull me off the sideline on the stretcher and taking me to my final countdown. I'm going to be on a Hawaiian island somewhere doing something far different from football. But if you love it so much, which I do, but I do know one thing, I don't want to be on the practice field when the end comes. And I wonder if that's going to happen with some of these players. Coaches like Pete Carroll and The older ones are just will not give it up, and it's past time to give it up. Now, Gundy again, he's the third coach this year to be fired. They fired two in the same weekend. Virginia Tech was upset by Old Dominion. That's an in-state rival from years ago. Not so much now. And it's a game now they're supposed to win handily, and they got beat handily. So Pry, they got rid of him. And then in UCLA, Deshaun Foster, another alumni, he got fired because he got blown out by New Mexico. He's a victim, and Virginia Tech as well. They are victims of what I call the NIL syndrome. And what the NIL syndrome is you go out and you think you can put together a roster, but the guys you pick turn out they either don't mesh well together or they can't play at all. It's the same thing that happened to Florida State. But this year, Florida State got it right, and they switched the coaching staff up to bring in Gus Malzahn, and they made all the right moves this time. And to add to that, they're angry. They're angry at the way that they got treated when they were 13-0 and they lost their quarterback. They got blown out by Georgia, and everybody else was piling on. So now that they got the ship right, if they got a chance to blow you out, Florida State's going to beat you by 70 because they're still upset about it. And you can't blame them for it because that's the way people were treating them. And that might fuel them all the way into the playoffs. I don't know how good they are. They call Alabama at the right time. Now you got Miami coming up. After you get by this game this weekend, if you can get by that, then you all set up to play Miami. That's going to be a big game like it used to be. And that's going to go a long way to determine what's going to happen in the ACC. But the ACC, they got their own hot coaches' seats there. Bill Belichick, his seat's starting to heat up, even though he just came in. It looks like a fish out of water so far. He just can't seem to get that run defense together. And I think he's dealing with the NIL syndrome just like UCLA. And if he sticks around long enough, he can get it turned around. They got enough deep pockets there to make an effect there in North Carolina. So I think he's going to be fine this year. It's just that, does he really want to do it? Because he's just as old as Pete Carroll, and he got that young girlfriend. He might want to go just give it up and go to France or something. Who knows? But the question there is, does he want to come back to try to turn it around? And then Dabo Swinney, I don't know about Swinney. He failed to embrace the modern era. He thinks that if he gets fired, Clemson can fire him. So what? I'm just going to go somewhere else and win. Maybe he'll go somewhere else and win if somebody will hire him. But if he doesn't embrace that NIL and the changes in college football, then Swinney, he ain't going to last wherever he goes. So he's going to have to look in the mirror and make some changes. Just like Gundy. If Gundy is going to come back and coach again, he's going to have to make some changes and step up. But right now, it's the new way of thinking that's going to survive in these new age of sports. And Swinney's struggling right now. So there it is. You have in the NFL, Brian Daboll, Raheem Morris. Those are just the early front runners. Gundy has been fired to join Deshaun Foster and Brent Pry. And Belichick, his seat is getting hot, as well as Dabo Swinney's seat is getting hot. So now, the only other thing is to talk about is Tom Brady. Mr. Mulatto, how you doing, man? I had said earlier, Strike, that Russell Wilson just don't seem like he's interested to be there. He got his 12, 13 million, whatever it is, to play, and he's happy with that. But some of the decisions and throws he's making don't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. So it's almost to the point where they have to get rid of him. But the question is, why put Dart out there as opposed to Jameis Winston? You would think Winston would be farther along, right? Well, he probably is farther along. But the fact that Jackson Dart had a good preseason has the fans thinking that it's time to throw him out there to see what he's going to do. Why not? Jaden Daniels did well when he was a rookie. A couple other guys did well when they were. Cam Ward is playing pretty decent for a rookie. So why not throw Dart out there to see what we got and bring in Winston as a backup? But Wilson, I think it's time for him to just sail on off to the sunset. He had a good career. He wasn't a first-round draft choice, but I don't think he commands the respect in the locker room. And Dart, everybody's excited about him, and he's a young guy. He's got a lively arm, hey, why not play the young kid? So I think that Winston, you get what you get with him, but at least he'll keep you in the games. So they got a good backup if they bring Winston off the bench. But Wilson, I don't think he ever won the locker room over, and those guys just want to get him out of there. But anyway, what's I about to say? Tom Brady is the talk. As you know, Tom Brady is a broadcaster now. And if you know anything about broadcasters before these games, they actually go to these team facilities and they interview the players and they watch practices. And they get an idea about what to expect before they do the broadcast on Sundays. Well, the problem with Tom Brady is he's also part owner of the Raiders. Not only is he part owner of the Raiders, he's wearing a headset during the games. So he's like in on what's going on play calling wise. He's having meetings with Chip Kelly about these game plans. So if I'm playing the Raiders this week and Brady is already in the facility, he's going to come to my facility to get a feel on what's going on for the game for broadcasting purposes. But yet in the game, he's not broadcasting. He's got an earpiece on listening to what the plays are. This guy's attached to the game plan. So what you have here is a true conflict of interest. He's on the inside of his opponents, and he's relaying that back to his offensive coordinator, and that's going to be adjusted so they can come to game plan with more intel than what they should have. And no owner has yet to come out and cry foul, and guys like Sean Payton, they'll refuse to come out and say anything against a guy like Brady, even though they don't agree with it. Now, I'm kind of surprised at Sean Payton not saying anything because he's the first one to cry about the officials and everything else. So, but he's not going to bite the hand that he's not going to bite an owner's hand because it's going to backfire against him. But at the same time, it's a clear conflict of interest. I don't want Brady calling my game if we're playing the Raiders because I already know he's going to take what he learns from watching my practices and turn it back to Chip Kelly, and I'm going to see that attacked against me during the game. And that's a big problem. And all this started with the Jim Irsay daughter. Jim Irsay owned the Colts, and he died. And now his daughter is, I guess she's the primary owner. She wants to put the earpiece on so she can hear what's going on in the game. Why, I don't know, but I guess he just want to learn more about what's going on. Harmless in her case as compared to Tom Brady. She just want to understand what's really taking place. Now, I don't want an owner over my shoulder during the game listening to what's going on because that can become a problem later on because you're always being scrutinized and evaluated, and now you're being micromanaged deeply when the owner has an earpiece on. So that Jerry Jones, he probably, what, I ain't thought of that. So let me put my earpiece on too. So he's already overbearing the whole team, and now to put on an earpiece during the game, what coach really wants to coach in Dallas under that kind of situation? But Brady, he's still you got thinking like a quarterback, and he's thinking of ways to destroy a defense, and that's in his mind. So he's talking to Chip Kelly, even though Chip Kelly is he's outdated right now for what he's doing. He's trying to run a college offense against NFL teams. And what I mean by that, football is football, but the size of the field and the way it's designed determines how you play. So if I got wider hash marks are wider or closer, you got all this room to run that a defender has to chase you across the field. Well, they don't have to run as much in the NFL. And by you trying to run the same plays you ran at Ohio State, it's not working because these guys are faster, number one. Two, they don't have to run as far. So he's hurting himself by trying to run the same thing he ran at Ohio State. He's got to completely overhaul that or the Raiders are going to struggle all year long. All right. Okay. Brown Super Bowl champion. Yeah, right. Sure, pal. G-Hard, how you doing, man? I ain't seen you in a while. But I think that Brady is a bad thing being a broadcaster and being an owner in that particular situation because it gives him the unique advantage to provide intel to his team. So my question to you guys, should he be allowed in other teams' facilities before these games? And most of you are saying no, and I completely agree with that. And I don't know why the NFL is allowing that, but it's going to take an owner to step up and say something about it. Otherwise, he's going to be able to keep getting away with this kind of stuff and funneling information to his own team. All right, abstract. New York is where middle quarterbacks go to end careers. Danny Dimes is doing great with the coach right now, even though they play easier teams. Well, I don't know if there's an easy team in the NFL. Sometimes you have teams that are projected to do well, and they don't do anything. Same thing in college football. Until you get on the field and show what you got, we don't know. And even then, most of these NFL games come down to the last possession. So I can't really say that it's easy. Now, the easy team right now, if you want to call a team easy, has to be the Bengals because Jake Browning is struggling at that quarterback, especially last game against the Vikings. And until Carson Wentz came to town, the Vikings were right along with him. That would have been a great game, Browning versus McCarthy, because McCarthy is nowhere near being an NFL caliber quarterback right now. Matter of fact, when you hurt his ankle, you can bet that people in Minnesota were standing up and cheering that because they knew what they were going to get dealing with McCarthy. And my question is, do they go back to McCarthy when his ankle is well? I don't think that would be a wise decision. And I'm looking at McCarthy and see how he prepare. And I might be trying to get rid of him because he hadn't shown me that he can be consistent as a quarterback. Yeah, I know he's a rookie, but if you look at the looks on Justin Jefferson's face while he's quarterback, he was never going to get the ball. And you see the same thing with Malik Neighbors with the Giants up to this point. He's not getting the ball at all, and he's got the same looks Justin Jefferson had. All they're doing is running up and down the field. If you're not getting the ball, you're just getting conditioning in, and that's pretty much what they're doing. All right, Brian Fogler, the new owner, wears a headpiece on the sideline. Yeah, I talked about that, but it's a difference, Fogler, between her doing it and Tom Brady. He knows the intel that he can shovel to his own team to get an advantage. She's just listening and trying to find out what's going on and getting closer. She might have wanted to do it all along, but Dad wouldn't let her do it. Dad's not there anymore. So now she can listen and find out what's going on. It's not a good thing for the coaches because now she's peering over his shoulder and getting closer than she needs to be if she don't have a full understanding of the game. But it also gives guys like Jerry Jones ideas because he probably never even thought of that. So expect the Cowboys owner to start doing the same thing. All right. Yeah, that's daughter Jim Irsay. Jihad, you'll be all right. I think the Ravens, their own worst enemy. Some teams just have flaws. The Ravens just can't seem to finish. And they're not losing the same way. So that means they got multiple flaws. You just got to find the ones that work for your team to exploit them. And like I said before, if you want to stop the Ravens from advancing the ball, the first thing you have to do is stop that run between the tackles. Jackson is getting better throwing the ball, but that effectiveness is also based on the fact that they're able to run the ball, and it creates wider lanes for the receivers when you do play action. That's why he's effective at hitting tight ends like Mark Andrews. And that started again because it didn't look so good early in the season with that. But if you can stop that run and stop him from escaping around that corner after play action, the fake to Henry, which they tried to do on the goal line, then you shut the Ravens down. And that's pretty much what Detroit did. So the blueprint's out there to beat the Ravens. But I think that it still comes down to the major mistakes that they're making. If Henry don't fumble the ball in the Buffalo or Detroit game, then we might be talking about different outcomes. So in the end, I think that the Ravens will be okay. I still call them the regular season Ravens, and then they reignited what I said about them before. I used to call them the Baltimore high school Ravens. They tried that crap on the goal line, trying to break the huddle and snap the ball within 2 seconds. That's what wing T teams do in high school when you get a handle on what they're doing. So they try to get you off track by speeding up to really confuse the defense. But if you got a handle on it and you get set up, you're still going to stop them. So once you do that, then the wing T teams are in trouble. And when they tried that and tried to jam Henry in there and it didn't work still, that lets you know the Ravens have problems. So it might just get a little bit worse from here, but I think they're going to be all right, Jihad. I hope they make the playoffs so we can put something on them. Yeah, Ravens got their lunch money stole, Fogler. Crying and stuff on the sideline. Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. But these guys, they're all millionaires at the end of the day. So much as we criticize them, they're just going to look at their bank account and they're going to give you that side eye look and close it up and move on. And because the bottom line is to take care of your family, and they make enough money to do exactly what it is. But anyway, I just want to come on today and talk about the in the NFL. You got Dayball and Morris. This seat is heating up in college. Dabo Swinney, Belichick, and they just fired Gundy at Oklahoma State to join Deshaun Foster and Brent Pry, Virginia Tech. Foster's was at UCLA, and it comes down to how well you handle the NIL, and I think that's going to be the downfall of Swinney because he's now speaking out on it, talking trash. But if he keeps falling apart, they're not going to have a winning season this year, and he might not be back because he just refuses to embrace the future, and I think it's going to come up and bite him in the end. All right, so one last look at this vote. I think that Tom Brady shouldn't be allowed in these facilities and broadcast a game. Or better yet, if he's going to broadcast the games, he shouldn't be allowed to broadcast his team's games. Therefore, it would be less of a conflict of interest because he's not able to give his team an unfair advantage by going to the other team's practices and passing that on to his offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly. But right now, it hasn't shown as much because Chip Kelly is still trying to run Ohio State offense. And with the dimensions of the field being different and the better athletes, that's not quite working against this NFL talent. So he's going to have to adjust. Much in the way that when he came from Oregon, he went to, first he was in Philadelphia, and then he went to San Francisco. Whatever the order went, he had the same kind of problems trying to get that offense to go. And he's going to have to adjust again. But why go back to the NFL when you haven't major success in college? I have no idea. Maybe he just wanted to see if he can be a success there, much in the way Pete Carroll did. You know, he left the NFL, had great success at USC, didn't want to go back to the NFL. But he showed how he had progress. Hadn't seen that yet from Chip Kelly. So he's going to have to step up and show everybody that he can actually run an NFL offense. He hadn't shown he can do that in all the years he's been there. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, hope you guys liked and subscribe. Appreciate you hitting a little vote there. And unless there's some breaking news, I'll be back on about 6:30 again in the morning with whatever updates I have. Thursday night football, you got the Cardinals and Seahawks. I don't know where they're playing. I think they're playing in Seattle. Should be a pretty good game. And I don't think we have anything going on tonight. Baseball regular season ends this week. So a lot of teams jockeying for final positions there. I won't talk a whole lot about baseball, but the playoffs are coming. And maybe we have something to talk about once the playoffs begin. But anyway, have a great day wherever you are. And again, I'll catch you on the flip side. This has been Sports for Real. I'm out. I told you guys about